Beloved chosen one, this is the moment your spirit has been approaching through every hard season, every delayed answer, every night when obedience felt heavier than comfort. You did not arrive here by accident. You arrived here because at last you stopped negotiating with the voice of God. You stopped delaying the instruction. You stopped dressing fear in reasonable language. You finally obeyed. And that single act of surrender sent a sound through the unseen realm. What looked small on earth was not small in heaven. What felt like a private decision became a public decree in the spirit. There is a reason the atmosphere around you has begun to shift. There is a reason certain burdens feel lighter, while other pressures suddenly feel exposed. Your obedience has drawn a line. Before this, there was hesitation. Before this, there was wrestling. Before this, there were doors you kept touching but never walking through. But now, because you answered when God called, movement has begun. Heaven responds differently when your yes becomes complete. Partial obedience delays peace. Full obedience releases alignment. The enemy wanted you trapped in the valley of almost trusting, almost moving, almost becoming, but your spirit has crossed over. The instruction you followed was not random. It was a key. It unlocked protection you could not have manufactured and access you could not have forced. This is why the warfare around your mind became so intense before this turning point. Darkness knew that once you obeyed, assistance would be dispatched, strength would be supplied, and your path would begin to clear in ways logic could not explain. The Word of God declares in the first book of Samuel, chapter 15, verse 22, "To obey is better than sacrifice." That word stands over you now like a seal. God is showing you that He was never asking for your performance more than your surrender. He was not impressed by how much you could promise while resisting the one thing He clearly said to do. But the moment you obeyed, something ancient and holy was honored. Your yes became evidence of trust. Your movement became proof that you still believed His voice could lead you better than your own understanding. So do not shrink back now. Do not question the breakthrough because it arrived through simplicity. Many expect thunder, but heaven often moves through instruction. Many wait for spectacle, but God looks for agreement. And your agreement has made room for divine activity that will become impossible to ignore. Receive this moment with reverence. Guard it. Walk steadily in it. And if this word confirms what your spirit already knows, like this message, share it with someone being called higher, subscribe for more, and comment 777 as your sign that your obedience has opened the door. Now that your obedience has been established, the unseen response becomes clearer. This is where many chosen ones fail to understand what has happened. You think heaven only celebrates from a distance, but that is not the pattern of God. When a yielded heart comes into alignment, He sends help with precision, not vague comfort, not symbolic approval, help with assignment, help with timing, help with purpose. That is why 2 angels were sent, because your obedience did not just affect your emotions, it affected your calling, your covering, and the next movement of your destiny. One was sent to guard what your obedience unlocked. The other was sent to move what had been held back until your yes became complete. This is why some things around you are stabilizing while other things are being shaken loose. One angel stands watch over what must not be stolen. The other advances what must no longer be delayed. You are not imagining the shift. You are standing in the aftermath of divine response. There are blessings that only arrive when resistance is broken. There are answers that do not descend into a life still arguing with God. But now the argument has ended. The wrestling has produced surrender. and surrender has released heavenly order. What was out of place begins to arrange itself. What was hidden begins to reveal itself. What was blocked begins to move. This is not because you became perfect. It is because you became willing. The ancient words recorded in Psalm 91, chapter 91, verse 11. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. Take that in deeply. It does not say they are sent only when the road is easy. It says they are given charge over you in all your ways. That means in transition, in rebuilding, in recovery, in warfare, and in unfamiliar territory. The presence of these two angels does not mean there will be no battle. It means the battle will not have final authority over you. It means you are not walking unaccompanied into this next chapter. This is why your spirit must remain alert. The enemy studies moments like this, hoping to pull you back into fear, pride, or distraction. But heaven did not send assistance for you to return to old chains. These angels were sent because your obedience signaled readiness. Readiness for weight, readiness for revelation, readiness for responsibility. So when peace suddenly comes where panic once ruled, recognize it. When unusual restraint keeps you from a wrong move, honor it. When doors begin opening without force, do not call it luck. Call it what it is. Heaven responding to the sound of your obedience, and divine messengers taking their places around the life God has marked for his purpose alone. What you endured was not wasted time. The pain, the silence, the repeated stretching of your faith were not signs that God had abandoned your path. They were part of the making of your spirit. You wanted immediate clarity, but God was building unshakable depth. You wanted quick rescue, but he was forming endurance that could carry real glory without collapsing under its weight. The struggle was not proof that you were forgotten. It was proof that your assignment required more than shallow strength. That is why some people could not understand your journey. They saw the outer delays, but they did not see the inner construction. They judged the season by what had not arrived yet, while heaven measured it by what was being forged within you. Every disappointment exposed where your trust still leaned on people. Every closed door revealed where your identity still depended on outcomes. Every lonely night taught you how to hear God without applause, without reassurance, and without visible evidence. You were being trained to stand when nothing around you made standing easy. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Zechariah, chapter 4, verse 10. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. That word reaches directly into your history. Some of what you cried over was small in the eyes of others, but sacred in the eyes of God. Your trembling yes still mattered. Your slow progress still mattered. Your survival still mattered. Heaven does not mock beginnings that look weak. Heaven watches them, blesses them, and turns them into testimonies that no human hand can fully explain. What felt hidden was holy. What felt unfinished was still under divine attention. Now you can understand why your process had to be personal. If everything had come too early, you would have trusted the gift more than the giver. If every door had opened quickly, you might have mistaken movement for maturity. But now your roots run deeper. Now your discernment is sharper. Now your spirit recognizes that hardship was not the end of the story. It was the furnace that burned away dependency, false attachments, and the need to be validated by those who never understood your calling. So when you look back, do not call those years empty. Call them preparation. Call them refinement. Call them the hidden classroom where God taught you to carry what is now being placed into your hands. comment, "I remain steady," as a quiet act of agreement, because those words declare that pressure did not erase your purpose. It revealed it. And if this message is feeding your spirit and helping this channel continue reaching those who need strength in hidden seasons, your support through thanks or donation becomes part of that ministry, helping this light travel farther than one voice alone. And because heaven has moved, darkness has also taken notice. This is the part many do not expect. They imagine that obedience should remove every conflict at once, but often obedience exposes the conflict that was already there. Your yes to God has not made you vulnerable. It has made the hidden resistance visible. What once worked quietly against you can no longer remain concealed, because light has entered the room with authority. The battle feels sharper now, not because you are losing ground, but because your calling is becoming harder to interrupt. This is why distractions increase when purpose becomes clear. This is why old temptations sometimes return with unusual force just when your spirit begins to settle. The enemy knows he cannot always destroy a chosen one directly. So he studies how to delay, exhaust, confuse, and divide. He looks for small breaches in attention. He looks for emotional reactions that can be turned into spiritual openings. He looks for moments when weariness can make you question what God has already confirmed. But this season is teaching you to recognize the pattern without surrendering to it. The Apostle Peter warns in the first letter of Peter, chapter 5, verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. That warning is not given to frighten you. It is given to sharpen you. Vigilance is not panic. Discernment is not paranoia. God is not calling you to live afraid of darkness. He is calling you to live awake in the light. There is a difference. A fearful person imagines danger everywhere and loses peace. A vigilant person stays anchored, notices the schemes, and refuses to be moved by them. That is the posture being formed in you now. You are learning that not every invitation deserves an answer. Not every argument deserves your energy. Not every delay means denial. Not every emotional storm deserves to become a decision. Some battles are won by standing still in truth until the noise passes. Some victories come from refusing to react in the old way. Some doors remain protected because you finally learned how to stop opening them with your own hands. So let the warfare teach you, but do not let it define you. Let opposition confirm the value of what you carry, but do not let it steal your focus. The same God who responded to your obedience is not absent in this resistance. He is training your hands for precision, your mind for clarity, and your spirit for endurance. What rises against you in this hour will not be the final voice over your life. It will become evidence that your obedience truly activated something heaven intends to protect. So now you stand at the edge of the life your obedience has made room for. And this is not the hour to retreat into the smaller version of yourself. Too much has been broken off. Too much has been revealed. Too much has been carried through fire for you to step back into old hesitation. The same God who called you out of delay is calling you into stewardship. What has been released over your life must now be guarded with consistency, humility, and courage. This next level is not sustained by emotion alone. It is sustained by daily agreement with what heaven has already spoken. You are not being asked to become someone else. You are being called to fully become who God already saw when He first placed His mark upon you. That is why this season may feel weighty even while it feels holy. New favor brings new responsibility. New clarity brings new accountability. New access requires new discipline, but do not fear the weight of it. Grace does not disappear when the assignment becomes serious. Grace teaches you how to carry what once would have crushed you. Grace steadies your steps until obedience becomes your nature and not just your emergency response. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 11, verse 28. Blessed are those who hear the word of God and keep it. That blessing is not shallow. It is not a passing emotional lift. It is the deep, settled favor that rests on a life aligned with divine instruction. You have learned that hearing alone is not enough. Feeling moved is not enough. Nodding in agreement is not enough. The blessing rests where the word is kept, protected, practiced, and honored. That is where your future begins to strengthen. That is where your peace gains roots. That is where your identity stops trembling every time the world shifts around you. So walk forward with clean focus. Protect your mornings. Protect your mind. Protect the atmosphere around your spirit. Be careful what gains access to your attention now, because what God is building in you deserves room to mature. You are not returning to who you were before this turning point. You are moving as one who has been warned, refined, helped, and established by mercy. Comment 852 below as your prophetic sign that you are stepping forward without returning to old compromise. Because this number becomes your quiet marker of movement, a simple act declaring that your obedience was not temporary, and your next season will be guarded with intention. And now, as this message settles into your spirit, do not let it fall like rain on hidden ground and disappear without a trace. Let it become a lantern set in the window of your soul, so another weary traveler may see that hope still lives. If this word truly found you, leave a comment below like laying a feather on the altar, a quiet sign that heaven passed through your life tonight. You may also like this message as one would place a hand over the heart, not out of habit, but out of recognition. Share it as you would pass a flame to someone still standing in the cold. Subscribe if you wish to remain near this well, where living water continues to rise. And if your spirit feels moved to donate, let it be like adding oil to a sanctuary lamp, so its glow may keep reaching souls still searching for dawn.